Coming up on ECG, have I ever told you about the story about Darth EA the Greedy?
To EA, each his own.
Apparently we're not paying enough money for games.
EA, just EA.
All this and more coming up on the East Coast Geek Podcast. Welcome to episode 117 of the East Coast Geek Podcast for Friday, November 24th, 2017, where we bring you all the latest news on comics, movies, and gaming. But mostly gaming today, because a sore subject has come up, and it's got a funny story. But first, we'll hit up Opu and see how he's doing this week. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good. And so it is, so it's VTech, like Vmon from Digimon.
VTech V6.
V6, yep. Like, or vitamin. It sounds like a vitamin too, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I got hung up on when I was reading through it, but that's fine. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So the funny thing about this story is, before all the crap went down with EA the previous week, the show notes for Friday were going to include the all-important DLC and microtransaction talk. So it was kind of coincidental when everything blew up before the weekend happened, and all the news that surrounded EA. And like I said, we're gonna skip out on comics and movies and cover that stuff next week, because I, like most, I'm sure, have watched The Punisher already, and I know VTech V6 is on with The Punisher, so I'm sure he's watched it already as well, or she, whichever you may be. As well as the entertaining Justice League that happened as well. We'll get into that and much more next week. But for this week, we want to cover, and we figure we've probably got about a week's worth of notes just on EA and microtransactions and all that good stuff alone. And for those of you that aren't in the know, the whole well, congratulations, VTech. As far as we know, I got derailed. That's terrible.
As far as you know, something about EA.
Yeah, as far as we knew at the beginning, when I started talking or started putting the notes down, I was just expecting a normal chat, probably along the lines of what's acceptable to each. And I mean, for me, to get it out of the way, I kind of grit my teeth and bear it when I get into a game, and like Destiny 2 is a great example. And the reveal this week from GameSpot, I think, doesn't make me too excited about the first DLC that's supposed to be coming out on the December 5th. They're supposed to be showing more off on the 29th, but so far GameSpot said that it isn't much as far as they saw, which is disappointing, to say the least. I was hoping for better performance this time, but it seems like Bungie's up to their old tricks again with Destiny 2. But I'm more of the field of, hey, you know, if I can be tricked into spending the money, I'm okay with that. But when you force me to, yeah, okay. So tricked meaning I play Elite Dangerous, okay. I fly inside of my HTC Vive, so I've got my VR glasses on, and I can't see the outside of my ship because I'm flying from first person. I can't see what my ship looks like, but I like that paint job, and it'd be cool for other people to see it, so I get it. I can't see the damn thing, but here I am sitting here with this awesome paint job on a ship that I can't see. That is something that I would like to pay for, okay? I understand that it takes time to put that stuff together, the art teams and whatnot. Another great example, World of Warcraft. Every time I get an expansion with that is hundreds of hours that I'm going to get out of that. And I know.
Unless I'm playing with you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, unless you're playing with me, because then you don't play as much.
Oh, because you never get on, but that's beside the point.
Only
so
on
you're
the weekend.
saying that basically what it boils down to is like you like to have the option as opposed to it being mandatory.
Yeah, I don't like my games locked away behind behind oh look, it's all messed up because of the green screen. Behind behind a paywall. I don't like that. I don't like when they hold things back to where I have have to pay to get something, which is why I'm so against Destiny. But the problem with Destiny is that I really like the system, and it feels good, and it's fun to just get in there and shoot a bunch of stuff just for the fun of it. And my son likes playing it too, so it's a plus. Sorry, you're not my son, so I don't play with you that much, Mitch. That, and you only play like Saturday and Sunday mornings because you work on normal.
Friday
shift.
Evenings too.
Time walls suck too, and it was great because I couldn't wait for that patch to finally take down that Suramar quest line requirement for flying.
Time walls are ridiculous. Basically, they're saying we don't want you to play our game.
Well, they don't want you to play a certain way until it's a certain time. Which, I mean, for WoW, it was the flight stuff was locked behind that. But
the flight stuff was like you had to earn it, as opposed to okay, you don't get to play this mission again for another 30 minutes or an hour and stuff. And by the way, we only have 4 missions, as opposed to having you like 150 different types of raids that you can go on.
Now the perfect model is Guild Wars. You farm flying for almost 3 months. It takes a long time, man. I know. Guild Wars 2 and the Guild Wars system in general is great because the only things you pay for are the incrementals, just like WoW. Okay, you don't even pay a subscription fee for that game. However, that game you are able to buy things through the market with real money or just play. And I mean, to be a full admission, I didn't really play it as much as I should have, so I didn't really feel like I needed to buy anything, so maybe I just didn't get far enough in that. But most of the stuff was cosmetic. But you could transfer money into gold and then buy stuff on the market, which is kind of crappy. And it kind of gets into that gray spot that EA totally crossed over, because the problem with Battlefront 2 was that they locked. I wish I would have kept that time. They locked all the characters. All the characters and all the cards, if you want to unlock all those, it was 3,482 hours, I think, or 3,842 hours. One way or the other, which is a little over 3 years, I think they said, of straight playing. You would play
some of the stuff we're looking at is okay. So for Battlefront 2, for the new game that just came out this week and is selling like I don't know poop. You're looking at 150 hours just to unlock skins.
And it was $2,100. I'm sure
$2,100 dollars, or like I thought it was like 4,500 hours.
And for us in the U.S. it was 21. I'm sure with the translation and the exchange rates, I'm sure it was 26 for you guys over there, because you said you were from where'd you just say?
The mighty Potato Land.
Czech. So, all right. So anyway, so that's a lot. That is a lot to ask. Especially from kids. My kids. Well, Christopher, my son, was crazy about Battlefront 1. Wanted it because he played the beta, and I played the beta. And the problem I had with it, which would be fine for him, but the problem I had with it was aiming down sights doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And if I want to play a shooter like that, I want my time it takes to aim down sights and put in the proper shot to actually matter. By all accounts, Battlefront 2 looks great. It looks amazing, but there's too much detracting from it that the bad press around it. So why don't we hop into the notes here? It was supposed to originally take about 40 hours to grind to unlock Vader. That was the biggest thing that came out at first. Then people started doing the numbers.
After paying $60, $80, $120 for the game.
Right.
40 additional hours to unlock a character. Now, let's go ahead and go there. We've all played games where it's like, hey, you have to do these certain tasks before you unlock this character. You have to do, you have to play 16 rounds with these type of characters to unlock this character. I mean, Smash Brothers does it all the time, where you have to like play all the main Mario characters before somebody else unlocks, or whatever. However, we're talking about Vader here, the most iconic character in Star Wars. I would think, is that too bold of a statement?
What?
That Vader is the character. When you say Star Wars, people think Vader.
Darth Vader, yeah. I mean, that's what everything from the new trilogy built up on, and the original series was obviously about Vader. I mean, Vader all the time. Vader is the one constant throughout everything in the timeline for the most part.
The film timeline, at least in a lot of the comics.
Even in the TV shows, the cartoons. I mean,
pretty much everything. Villains are designed based off of him, which, it's funny because he was kind of based off Doctor Doom, but that's
Greg's
neither here nor there.
Greg's old enough. How was Vader in the Star Wars Christmas special?
What Christmas special? There was no such thing. Never happened.
Oh, it happened.
No, it didn't. So it's like, why lock the most iconic character behind a time wall or a paywall like this? Well, we know why, but and a lot of these quotes are going to be stolen from Reddit, but they were too good to pass up. So one comparison was, first of all, Vader was more or less playable from the outset of the Battlefront that you were just talking about. Battlefront, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So imagine buying a car and find out the stereo doesn't work until you drive a certain amount of hours. Like, why can't I access the radio? Oh, you have to drive at 60,000 miles before you can use it. Why? Well, we felt the sense of accomplishment you'd feel after all that driving to finally be able to listen to the radio was the right direction we should take in ourselves. Now, here's the other thing about that. You can't then say, okay, well, we're locking him behind this 40-hour paywall, time wall, which is insane, but then it's also, you could pay $15 extra or $20 extra and unlock him right now. And I think the other issue is that it was, you might get lucky and get him after 40 hours. It's not like, okay, you have to 39 more hours before you can play this character. It's like, that's when you really start getting your chances by spending on the loot boxes, which is a whole other thing which we'll talk about later. So, but go ahead, and and with the older crowds, the major older crowds that are into Star Wars and character games in general, we don't have the time to play games like this anymore. So 40 hours, that's a week worth of work for us.
Yeah, and that what was it, the 3,000 plus hours. That's playing it. That's playing it if you. It's 3 years if you just do nothing but play Star Wars Battlefront. There's no way that people like us would, people like us, I mean anybody, to actually continue to play it for that long. The game isn't that deep to, garner someone's attention for 3 years straight. It's not, I am the exception because I change games every 5 minutes. You can attest to that. Greg can attest to that. Yep. But I don't know.
Now here's the thing. Now these games, you can't, like, people are still playing the classic Battlefront 2. So yes, you, like, within the fan base it'll last that long, but the company isn't going to have it last that long. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get bored of it within 4 or 5 years, release Battlefront 3, and then who knows how long after that before they just say, okay, you can't play Battlefront 2 anymore, we're shutting down those servers. Yeah. Which, I guess technically they're getting away from that because now you can have the subscriptions and blah, 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 blah. But that's not the point. Look at something like Evolve, because this was a big scandal when Evolve first dropped. There was $100 worth of DLC, skins, and crap like that day one.
Yeah.
So, and Evolve, they shut down their servers pretty, in the gaming world pretty quickly. They immediately jumped from buying a $60 game to being free to play to then just shutting down.
Yeah, that was crazy too, because I used to play that. I bought into it early, and it was terrible. And Scott friend of the show who's been on a couple of times, he said, yeah, it's free to play now, and I reinstalled it for like, one or two, and I played maybe one or two matches, and that was it. And it was like, I can't do this. It's just not fun, and yeah. EverQuest still has its servers up after 18 years. I mean, that's crazy. Where did we go wrong? For sure, man. And the problem is that people kept buying stuff. I mean, you go through the history, and I started doing paperwork for an article, and the very first DLC in its current form was units that you could get for free for a game called Total Annihilation, which was like it was during the heyday of the Command and Conquer series, but it was one that actually encompassed actual air forces as well as ground and navy as well. That was a great game. I loved it. When they started giving away free units that you could add into the game, it was really neat. We used to have a lot of fun playing it in the house on an old, what do you call it, the freaking Ring networks with the BNC cables and the old NIC cards. Total Annihilation was great, but then everything started steamrolling into, let's see.
I think the big trend of when it became this pay for DLC, remember, I think it was Oblivion, right? Where you could buy the armor for the horses.
That was the first most controversial, was the horse armor.
And people kept trying to defend it. And so that got a pass after a while. And then there was like Dragon Age Origins where you could buy fancy new armor and give it to characters, and the characters could walk off, like abandon your party, and you would never get it again. Yeah. So that $5 was gone for the game. Like, good.
Yeah.
So Oblivion was like the first big one that I remember being the first big scandal, and I think we just like everybody kept conceding. The gamers have kept conceding until we get to this point, and we're just like, enough is enough. And I mean, I fight DLC all the time. You probably have heard my rants on here. I know we've talked about me going crazy over Evolve's $100 DLC to begin with, but
VTech B6 said horse armor was horse crap.
You are correct. So it was just dumb, and
it did nothing really.
I mean, like, the thing is, you go through like mounts in Oblivion and Skyrim and Morrowind like crazy.
Yeah,
I don't even know if there were mounts in Morrowind, but you know what I mean. Because you fast travel everywhere.
Yeah, Oblivion was the horse armor.
Although the Skyrim horses are completely legit because they do not care; they will fight anything.
Good is a relative term, Greg, in the looking back, because man, those polygon counts were still kind of low back then. not as low as Morrowind, but
in comparison, at the time it looked good. Yeah. So and I like for example, one of my favorite sections of a game, Fallout New Vegas, Old World Blues. That was DLC, but it came out months and months and months later. So I'm cool with that. Like, if they're like, hey, we didn't get a chance to incorporate this into the game, but we want to give it to you guys now, but we have to charge a little bit for it, I'm cool with that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like them releasing day one DLC where, hey, there's 50 other storylines that you can have if you pay $15. I'm like, no, I just bought this game. I should be able to play anything that you've got now should be in this game.
Right. All right, let's get back onto the notes, and we can wander again afterwards. Did you do the Luke Leia thing?
First, I'm drunk.
Huh?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I was reading.
No.
No. So we've gotten. No, we're just talking about the hour. So we haven't. Well, yeah. I want to get back to that comment real quick. I'm sorry. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. This was the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. It's like 600,000
it's probably
downvotes, right?
I bet it hit 1 million already. I'd look for it, but we should have done a little.
Yeah, I haven't looked, but you look for it while I finish this. Here's the thing: I can totally agree with that, even though the 40 hours is immense. But again, you go back and you have the paywalls. For example, like with WoW, even though it was what made me stop playing it. But the doing all the things for the different mounts, right? I felt accomplished when I got all those sky shards or whatever and summoned down that dragon and one-punched it.
Right.
But at the same time, though, I was like, wait, I've just spent the last 3 or 4 days just in raw hour time, in number time, 40 hours or so, just grinding for this mount that I'm already starting to not use because I need this water walking mount more.
They must have locked.
Yeah, I'm
because
pretty sure they quickly locked it.
674,000 negative.
It would be at 1,000,000 if they hadn't already archived it and locked it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they had to. They had no choice in the matter.
Right, right. Over 9,000. Water walking mounts for fishing is very nice. Oh, but that one's locked behind a time wall. The rep grind for Nat Pagel he's talking about from WoW.
Right, no, which I was just talking about is that I was spending all these hours to get the dragon in Pandera with the Sky Shard. Do you remember me going on long rants about spending hours and hours trying to get those things to drop? I couldn't imagine doing it at a lower level where you couldn't just one-shot everything because I was at level 110 when doing it.
And now you know why people were selling those for thousands of gold for activating it.
So. And I was looking and I was like, man, I should just keep grinding this stuff and selling them because they're still selling high.
Yeah.
But it's just and yeah, the rep thing, like having to go back and do those daily quests each day. But fortunately for those, is that if you could catch multiples of those fish, then you could always just save them for the next day, and you wouldn't really waste your time.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Luke, Leia, Chewie, Iden Versio. You read this one or no?
Go ahead.
Palpatine and Vader are all locked. You can purchase them with in-game currency. Luke and Vader, and I think this is the original numbers, right?
These are the original numbers, guys. Remember, they dropped it. They dropped it substantially, but then they also dropped the rewards, which we've got that lower down.
Okay. Luke and Vader cost 60K each. Leia, Chewie, Palpatine 40, and Iden. Who's Iden, anyways? 20K.
I don't remember Iden.
Yeah. Let's see.
So did you read that first bullet under that?
Huh? Oh no! Go ahead.
Okay, so you're looking at close to 150 hours just to unlock the skins. And because remember, a lot of these characters are going to play very close to the same. Leia and they're going to have different running speeds, but like Leia and Han's going to play a lot alike.
Right.
Luke and Vader's going to play a lot alike.
Right. And then Palpatine does his, and I saw someone playing Palpatine. It's kind of cool. He's definitely lighting people up with the lightning, the Force lightning. But
does he still do the fly? I think he did fly. He like hovered or something.
He probably does.
I think.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a lot of people that just play really similar.
Right.
So they could be they could just be glorified skins.
Right. And let's see. Did you get into the next section?
I haven't. I'm still hitting all these bullets.
Oh.
So on top of that, there's been some leaks saying that stuff from the free DLCs are going to be locked. The free DLCs.
Of course they are.
For the record, there are RPGs that can be completed under 40 hours when doing a casual playthrough. You can do like a massive games. Again, New Vegas, Witcher 3. You could do under 40 hours if you don't go and do everything. And this is a shooting game.
Right.
Basically, action game, a first-person shooter game. That a Team Fortress 2, basically a Team Fortress 2 game.
Even thinking back to earlier in my video game career, even thinking about like the Call of Duty multiplayer, weapons being unlocked over time, or even Battlefield. Call of Duty and Battlefield both did it, where they'd lock weapons behind time walls, or when Battlefield came around, you could let's see, what was it, Greg? 3 or 4, where you could buy the unlocks for the weapons and vehicles, buffs and all that stuff. But you could pay to beat that paywall or that time wall, just by giving them money. It would just unlock all the weapons in a series or unlock. Yeah, so it's Battlefield 4. Those kits sucked. It was so unnerving because I'm not going to spend Hey Daniel, I'm not going to spend money again on a game that I already spent, but then I got to deal with people that have unlocked this stuff because they paid more money than I did. Even that should have been the tip off that EA, and that's once again an EA game. So
Yep.
It's just aggravating.
So let me tell you what some of the stuff that I see. Like, I'm playing Fortnite, and I've complained about this game off the podcast before and on it. But some of the things I think are good is, like, you know, you don't have to really grind for weaponry. You get them randomly throughout your maps. You get them randomly throughout loot boxes. You get schematics. And before I initially used the schematics, I was really... I was like, I'm about to do this. I'm about to get really pissed off because I thought it was like one schematic per weapon, as in you would burn through them, like with the traps and stuff.
Right.
Because that's the ones I build the most. I usually just, whatever crap I find in the maps or in loot boxes, is I just burn through that weapon real fast. I'm concerned about the traps in that game. But you get to reuse them. And I feel like this, for all the flaws that I have with, which aren't really that many to be honest, with like Fortnite, I feel like if EA had taken this game, we'd be buying nothing but schematics each time, or you know, you'd have to spend so many hours grinding for whatever weaponry or things like that. And I don't know, the unlocks of that game feel a little more organic, although it still has its own loot boxes and everything. But that's another story. But to keep going into this unlock issue, could you imagine spending 40 hours to play a game just to unlock, like Sonic? In Sonic Adventure 2, you had to play 20 hours before you could play as Sonic. You had to play as Tails the entire time with that annoying homing missile attack. Or Goku in a Dragon Ball Z game, which, you had to do a certain code or something for one game that didn't get released over here. Or Spider-Man in a Spider-Man game.
So not to toot Blizzard's horn for them over and over again, but one of their better choices they did was Overwatch. Their loot boxes are not required. They are only for skins and sprays and emotes that don't really have any effect. Well, they have zero effect on the gameplay. You don't
exactly,
and you can earn them from just playing.
And again, that's a really good way of doing it. I appreciate that. And though, I was going to say Sonic and Mario, but then you got to remember that in Super Mario 64, the DS version, you did have to actually unlock Mario in that game. However, it took like 30 minutes, an hour to do it, and it was like kind of relevant to the plot. And you didn't just have the option to buy him.
Wow, that's interesting. Belgium will be voting in Parliament to make games cancel loot boxes. Who was it? Was it? And the EU will be voting on it too. I think, what was it, Austria was the one that they were investigating Battlefront for Battlefront 2. You probably have that in here. Investigating Battlefront 2 and EA for gambling.
Now somebody's already come out. I saw it mentioned the other day. Or no, earlier today, that the game that they said that loot boxes weren't give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. That weren't gambling.
So here's the thing, okay? Blizzard, for Heroes of the Storm, for Hearthstone, and Overwatch, had to, because of the loot boxes, because you're spending money, they had to reveal the odds of getting certain things from the boxes, well, all items, for, I think it was China, because they require it, because it's basically gambling. They have that law that you have to reveal that. So people were watching to see that, to see what the odds are, so they knew in the U.S. as well to see, is it worth trying to pay. But yeah, exactly. Only in China. But see, that's the thing is that for them they could adjust it and say, yeah, this is what it is. But when here in the U.S., we're still in the blind because they're not illegal, they're not outlawed, they're not regulated. So, that calls into question, and that's the reason why they were looking into it over in the EU, is because kids are spending money. And I saw another cute article that said there was a Black Friday sale for FIFA packs, and in a few hours stretch, EA made $50,000 from people buying those packs for FIFA. That's insane. And we covered an article months or last year ago, whatever, that one kid who was the son of one of the IMF bank heads, who spent thousands of dollars on FIFA packs, and he was pissed, and he went after EA to try and get a refund.
So real quick, supposedly the ESA and UK gambling commissions say loot crates are not gambling. But you got to remember, like, these people that are in these political party offices right now, the last game they ever have seen was like Asteroids or Pong, and some of them before then. Some of these people are like 70 or 80 years old, so they freaking remember when televisions were this big, the screens were this big, and the box was this big and weighed half a ton.
Right.
Some of these people remember, like, these people were experienced with World War II. How out of touch are they with the modern era?
Yeah. Adam said, with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, you can buy supply drops with the chance of getting weapons variants with better specifications. Call of Duty World War II does have supply drops that can also be bought, and you can get variants, but they're only different skins. And that's okay, I guess. Like I said, I'm okay with the skins thing, but anything that gives you an advantage. And in Battlefront 2, the card variants, or the card improvements that you get from it, actually give you a leg up against the competition. So if you can spend $2,100 on it, then you'll be better than that next guy. And that was the big contention for everybody that was outraged in that opening week, because this all stemmed from all the people that had early access for Origin and the EA access on the Xbox and PS4.
Oh, and yeah, so these remember, these people were also the same people that for that early access they had to pay like $80 plus. I had a buddy who pre-ordered it for $80, and he still wasn't allowed to do it until like Thursday evening.
Yeah.
So where are we at? Oh, and here's how the community manager for the Star Wars community manager complained on Twitter, calling the critics of this armchair developers. Yes, okay, I can't analyze and criticize how they develop, say, how Mario platforms within the physics of the game, because I don't develop it. However, I can tell when, like, they say, "Oh, well, you've run out of Mario jumps for today. Would you like to purchase more?" I could say that's a crappy move. I could call when Need for Speed, I think it was just a mobile game, they made you pay for gas with real money.
Yeah, I remember that too. We covered that. Yeah.
Yeah. So about this time is when, like, everything started going crazy for EA. You know, they're making these really stupid comments on Reddit and Twitter. So people were canceling in the hundreds, to say the least. If maybe it was more. Maybe there was several thousand. I don't know. Maybe that's an exaggeration. A lot of cancels were happening. So bad that EA supposedly removed the cancel button for pre-orders and orders. They also removed the refund button from their site. You had to call them and wait in line on the phone to cancel your order, or get online through the help chat and cancel your order.
As a way of hoping that people will
get frustrated and not do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And Greg, listen, you stream nothing but PUBG, and that is a independent game, for lack of better words, even though it is a worldwide sensation at this point. Yeah, Need for Speed was terrible. The phone app, yeah. What was it? What did you say it was? It was Need for Speed Unrestricted? No. What was it? What was it called?
Oh, I don't remember. Unlimited.
Unlimited, yeah. Unlimited, except by gas that you have to buy with real money.
Need for Speed Gas Guzzler or something.
Shame on you for streaming Skyrim
too.
Shame on you for streaming Skyrim and supporting somebody. Oh God, that's another one that's doing it wrong. So two companies that are doing it wrong: Blizzard with Hearthstone. Professional Magic the Gathering players have come out and said that Hearthstone is too expensive for normal players, and even the ones that are like disciplined and passionate players, the ones that participate in tournaments, because they spend so much money on card packs. The other one is Bethesda and this new crap with the mods the mods thing. So from now on, if I because I don't know, I don't think that they've TCGs are pay to win. I don't know if the next iteration, or if even in the current iteration, that they're going to completely cut off external mods for games like Skyrim and Fallout 4, and the next iteration of games. They can do that. They can completely take away the ability to mod, and the modding scene for Skyrim is amazing. From all the creations that people made that were on, whether it was on the Steam Workshop or on the Skyrim Nexus and Fallout 4 Nexus and the Fallout 4 side of the
Didn't
Workshop.
They delete the Nexus?
I don't know.
Or blocked it or something?
See, that's the thing. Yeah, going back to pirating and cracking then. What's it called? CD Projekt Red. They put out official patches that are for cracked versions with a little text file that says, if you really like the game, we'd really appreciate the support, but we don't require it. We're doing this as a service to our fans.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome.
They even made a comment on Twitter about that too. They're like, we're not greedy like that.
Yeah, they said.
So here's the thing: if people keep saying greedy. Now, the way I see it is, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money, but there's good ways of doing it. Like, hey, releasing something like Witcher 3 and being supportive of your fan base, whether they can afford it or not. Right. Or there's stuff like the way EA does it. So wanting to make money isn't necessarily the bad thing. I just feel like people keep saying that. They're like, I'm greedy. I want to make money, but I don't want to. But me making money is by doing a good job. It's not by going to Jeremy and stealing his wallet.
Yeah, right.
Greedy can have positive motivations to it. It can inspire creativity. Again, Witcher 3. Sonic Mania, in a way. Well, that was basically built by fans.
And that's the thing. All the Skyrim mods are great. People put their passions and focus them into creating these great things that other people can experience without, It made Bethesda look like the good guys for quite some time, but it seems like they're turning on their heels away from that, and it's outrageous. It's another way that everything's being pushed away from creativity. Indie companies do not have to answer to shareholders. The big distributors have to. So okay, great. I'm glad. It's 7:28 p.m. on the East Coast there, VTech. Big distributors have. Okay, so let's talk about that really quick, all right? When EA sells a game to Walmart, or EA sells a game to Walmart, I know that doesn't happen completely directly, but all that stuff in there it's been broken down before. It takes about $20 to make the disc version, and then by the time Walmart takes their cut, they're taking a big chunk of it, and then EA's standing there with about $20 to split between them and the $5 that they give to the actual development house. Now, when they sell it directly to you, like is the current situation with the Origin system for PC players, and the small amount that Xbox or Microsoft and Sony probably take.
Online downloading service.
They are getting more of their profits than they used to ever before.
So, and here's the thing they always hide behind. They're like, well, we're not charging, and I'm sure we got in notes here, we're not charging enough for games. I mean, producing them, distributing them, all this stuff costs a lot of money. Okay, then why aren't they cheaper online? That's been one of my counterpoints for digital downloads for years. Why can't I, it's literally $60 for the game, the physical copy, and $60 for just the files. Files that can be altered or removed by the main companies, which we've seen happen before. But I can keep that physical copy.
Right.
So they're not giving me any reason to not. And here's the thing: I download a lot of games lately. More and more I've been downloading onto my PC as opposed to buying for the Xbox and stuff. But every time I do, it's like I'll try to find games that would fly under the radar, so to speak. I'm trying to avoid EA games because I don't know what I can trust them to do.
But
Bethesda, I bought Bethesda games on the computer just so I could play with the mods.
Okay, Greg,
and that gets us into a whole other argument.
I know.
What I'm saying is, like, they keep trying to hide behind this, like EA is saying, well, we got to pay our distributors. We got to, we're not getting that much money, so we have to charge these DLCs. But then they're doing the same tactics online.
Yeah.
So, what is the truth and what is the lie, EA? Are you going to screw over your customers just for that one extra $1? Or are you going to help build your fan base more by being decent individuals and telling the truth? Which they have, apparently. They said, yeah, they're in there literally to generate money. They're not in there.
So here's the counterpoint to what Greg's putting in there. The number, it's true, the number of people for AAA titles has grown exponentially. However, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, and Battlefield 1, the new one, have all been built on the new Frostbite engine. That is 5 titles that they have not had to develop a new engine on or purchase the engine from companies like Epic or who's one of the other big ones. The same with Bethesda. Skyrim and Fallout 4 are tweaks or of the same engine. And here's the other thing
so they
saved that.
That looks like Skyrim. Look at PUBG. Look how many millions it's selling, and it doesn't look that great. It doesn't have the epic skylines of Skyrim. No. Look at Minecraft that continually sells billions. It's freaking blocks.
Gameplay.
It's gameplay. We've said it thousands of times before. That's why everybody keeps buying the retro console things. That's why virtual console is such a big thing. It's because the games, first and foremost, any game has to be fun. Remember, we grew up playing Pong, 2 sticks and a dot. And that would keep your eyes and attention for hours.
To a degree, most companies are pure greed.
Again, greed can be a positive thing, but it can be a negative thing.
In the past, it's always been a back and forth between EA and Activision, who's the worst. But EA's been holding that title for a while.
Well, yeah, EA's. I think I put this in here somewhere, but EA has won several times the worst company in America,
right.
And this is against companies that have spilled oil into the oceans. They're that bad, and they're that terrible to their consumers. And I've got it in here somewhere right here, and they keep trying to concede stuff. Oh, well, we've temporarily suspended online purchases. Yeah. Oh, well, we reduced the cost. They're not, and they keep saying that they're listening to the consumer. They're not. What they're trying to do is outdate the outrage. They're trying to say, why are you angry about this? But we've made all these concessions. Sure, we lowered the cost of Vader. Yeah, he's only 20,000 credits now. But guess what? Now, instead of making 10,000 or 5,000 from 3 or 4 matches, you're making 100 credits or 200 credits. So they lowered the cost of the reward, they lowered the cost of the character, but they lowered the return on your reward, so to speak. So you still have to work that same amount of time to earn it in-game.
They've lowered them proportionally. Yeah.
Proportionally is what the word I was looking for, because I am
distracted.
Don't preach to me about the games. Yeah, okay. Yeah, adjusted for inflation.
Even the NES was expensive.
Use adjusted for inflation.
I can remember sitting in the store with my father and the rest of my family when my dad was doing the financing paperwork to buy a Nintendo Entertainment System from Highland Appliances up in Michigan. I remember that day specifically. It was exciting because we were getting that for Christmas, and to a certain point, parents,
you should have just had Santa Claus bring it like he brought mine.
It's amazing. Well, exactly, but my dad was Santa, and at least he dressed up like him. Anyways, so these things, the inflation, the inflation changes, and that's really outrageous for the Atari. But at the same time, that was the technology,
and also it helped. That kind of stuff helped the video game crash in the 80s, was overpriced stuff with no quality output, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
So are we heading to another crash if we get crap output? And EA seems to forget this. This is a hobby. we can drop it at any time. This is not me filling up my car
Yeah.
to go to work. This is not me going to the grocery store to buy food to make sure that I don't starve to death. This is something I do on my downtime that I could do doing anything else, like fixing up my basement finally so I don't look like a hobo back here. Reading all these books that I keep buying and I just keep setting them aside because I want to play video games. Or, writing again or drawing again,
Adam, we could do a whole episode on the failure that was the Atari game E.T. There's been a documentary done. You should check it out. It's on Netflix. I don't remember what it's called.
Also, before we get there, yes, we love all of you guys, even if you have conflicting opinions against us.
Oh, for sure.
And therefore are wrong. We don't hate you for being wrong and dumb.
All right.
And not having beards.
So, your comments, these are pointed comments. They don't care about your experience, the genre, the gameplay, the franchise. They make terrible games in an effort to grab your cash, and then they move on. Stop buying their games. I mean, that's the general basis for any of that crap.
That's the only way you're going to have all these down. Those comments could have had 1 billion downvotes. They do not care.
Yeah.
They had to ask me anything where they sent out. They threw the developers under the bus instead of putting the EA teams on there.
The people that developed
the responses. Did you read these responses? They were so formulaic that somebody actually posted what they were going to be a day before. He said, "Let me guess, they're going to say this," and they said almost word for word that thing. I wish I had copied it, but the only way you're going to have these people understand is you not buy the game. Not this, I'm going to postpone for a week or two before buying it. Because they've already adjusted. They've done this 1,000 times before. They'll do it 1,000 times again. They've already adjusted for a certain amount of people to drop the game.
Right.
It's not 10% needs to drop it. It's like 50 or 60 people need to drop this game. And keep spreading it around, which apparently is working. Because if you've seen any of these photos from Black Friday sales, if you look at all the game cases, it seems like, and these could be just fudged photos of people just stocking the shelf, then taking a quick picture, then finish stocking it.
No.
But it's always Battlefront 2.
I did a couple of stops at 3 different Walmarts while I was on my way home today to do some Christmas shopping for the wife, and all 3 of them had Battlefront and some of the Call of Duty World War II boxes. But mostly Battlefront boxes in the end caps, and just everything else is wiped out. And
that's exactly this. That's what's going to speak to them.
Yeah, they were predicting, and we have a couple more things. They were predicting selling 13 million copies by, I think it was March or something like that, or by the end of the year at the very least. They've sold, I think the numbers are like 6 or 7. But I wonder how many of those are affected by refunds and all that. I guess the earnings call.
Are we looking at legit numbers? Because we've discussed this with Marvel before, where they say, we shipped 10,000 copies of this comic. So obviously fans want it. But what they're neglecting to say is, and 8,000 of them got returned to us or thrown in the garbage.
Right. And that's why I said you won't find out until earnings calls what the actual effect was.
We're not going to know until next year or in a few months when somebody gets drunk on Twitter and says something, or some insider posts something anonymous on Reddit or 4chan or something, saying, "You guys, we lost 80% of our sales."
Hey, I don't like when people speak for me there, Greg. I love Ubisoft did the perfect thing when they made Rainbow Six Siege. That's about the only one. I'll be honest with you there. Being locked behind a short time wall, the people that buy a season pass for Rainbow Six Siege get the characters a week before everybody else. But we all get the map that first day. In that first week, you can't expect to realistically play that character all the time anyways. You're either getting team killed by people that wanted to play him, or team killed by people that are mad that they don't get it until next week.
Now, you got to remember, this is coming from the same guy that just a couple of weeks ago said the only reason Ubisoft isn't voted the worst company in America is because Ubisoft is in France.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing. And so the DLC levels, okay? So DLC in any of the Assassin's Creed games are minor for the price you pay for them, okay?
Yeah, but here's the thing with that counterpoint. The Assassin's Creed games aren't even finished when they release them.
Usually
half the time they're covered in glitches. Watch Dogs melting through the map half the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Ubisoft releases half-ass games, and here's the thing: I feel really bad for, even if these paywalls were built into the game's code itself, I feel really bad for the developer of Battlefront 2 because
they didn't make that decision.
EA is not. If this game completely fails and they sell 1 million copies, they lose $1 billion. EA is not going to look in the mirror and say, "Wow, we really screwed this up." They're going to turn to the developer and say, "You screwed this up. You're closing your doors. Everybody's getting fired or relocated, and we're going to buy another company," because that's what they do every single time.
If you go back to the video of last episode, 116 has the graveyard for EA right now, except it didn't have Visceral put in there yet because we were talking about Visceral. That was a fresh body, so they didn't have the grave dug yet. Or maybe they did, we just didn't get a photo yet. But yeah, do I need to get that soundbite, Greg? The Pepperidge Farm Remembers soundbite? That'd be great. It's just, I wish they need to readjust their attitudes on how they treat us. Now, what's interesting is, and we kind of covered this stuff about the loot crates and the gaming commission stuff. So the gaming commission. Is this U.S. notes?
Which one?
The notes for the gaming commission section. This one here.
Some of it is, some of it is not.
Okay, so there are ongoing investigations.
We've got some coming in. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's like not only did, like we said earlier, China, EU, also like Hawaii has been looking at them too, and a few others.
Vegas is cool with it though.
Vegas.
So anyway, so what was I going to say?
By the way, yes, I know Hawaii's not a country.
Hawaii's not a country. No, but that means the individual state level gaming commissions are looking into stuff.
That's what I was getting to. Yes. Go ahead.
I don't remember what I was going to say because you derailed me. Crap. Yeah, EA did put a temporary hold on the microtransactions, emphasis on the word temporary. I'm sure those will be back activated as soon as everything blows over. So right around shortly after Christmas time, I guess, because they still got to sell the game. But I can see them coming back, obviously. I'm kind of wondering why. So it's a unified front on Battlefront 2. That's pretty unique where I put that. But EA doesn't just make that game and doesn't make loot crates for just that game. Like we've talked about, Battlefield 1 has them, but you said they're just skins, so that's all right. And then puzzle pieces for new melee weapons that have mildly different stats.
What we're getting at here is that this game, Battlefront 2 here, the new Battlefront 2, is the tipping point. This is the straw that hopefully broke the camel's back, and everybody is saying enough is enough. This stuff is insane. I've said it before, both privately.
Hold on. VTech B6 asked a really, really great question. What do I think about Star Citizen? I think that is a black hole for money. That's what I think.
Is that the game that's still in development?
Development after 5 years. It is the most funded in the history of Kickstarter or whichever one it was that it started on. People are dumping money into that game left and right, and all we're seeing is pretty tech demos. Elite Dangerous is far and beyond way ahead of what they have built. I mean, I understand the problem with Star Citizen is that they are like a goldfish. They want to work over here, then they want to work over here, then they want to do this. Now we got they got a first-person shooter built into it as well, and the wandering around on the ground as a person. I mean, I understand that stuff's cool. It is really great features. The problem is people have dumped millions towards that developer, and nothing is shown for it other than
I do love the idea behind Star Citizen. I agree, but 5 years with
honestly
$5 billion. Come on, show us something.
I can't wait till it comes out. I'm not giving them any money, but I will probably buy the single player campaign because when I grew up, one of the greatest things ever that I used to play along with my dad was the Wing Commander games, and having Mark Hamill and Ian what's his name? Not Ian. crap. Anyways, what's his face from Back to the Future? The guy that plays Biff. No, that wasn't that guy. It was the other one. Tom. God, I can't remember names. I'm getting too old. But anyways, the Wing Commander was great because it had the full motion videos. It added to the story, and this is supposed to be like that as well. Yeah, definitely. So I got derailed again. Yeah, Star Citizen, I wish that it would have turned out to be more, but especially for the backing that it got, and it's kind of disappointing for the people that have given them money because it hasn't really gone far from its start. But I do like the idea of that campaign. That should be neat. All right, so we talked about some of the bad things. Obviously, the Hearthstone stuff, EA's loot crates for this game for Battlefront. DLCs as a whole need to they need to get a hold of what they're doing because they're not producing what should be justified as downloadable content, or they're not pricing them properly, and that's another issue. And that was what I was going to say. There was that article that well, yeah, and they only care about money. VTech, that's the big thing.
Again, that's a good motivator as long as you're releasing a quality product.
And that's the thing. There's the distributors like EA and Activision and so on and so forth are stifling the creativity of the developers.
Yes.
Like I said, Battlefront 2 looks amazing. The graphics look amazing. The fights look amazing, especially on the higher detailed graphics on the higher end computers. But with all this controversy, and there's that train I wanted to jump on back up halfway up the notes. Bob Iger of Disney was rumored to have contacted the head of EA and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You're bringing too much bad press to Star Wars, and we're about to release a movie in a couple of weeks in theaters that's going to be a big installment. We don't need this giant cloud hanging over Star Wars." And this is all hypothetical on the conversation, but you have to imagine it went that way. You know what I mean? And the other issue with that is what are the possibilities that Bob Iger says you better straighten up, or we're gonna take Star Wars away from you? What's the possibilities of that? And they have what, 3 or 4 games in development right now?
Yeah, and I mean it wouldn't be the first time Disney does something like that. Well, here's the thing: is Disney's been caught building games that trick kids into spending money. We covered that before, I believe. Like they're mobile games on tablets and stuff. So Disney's not necessarily innocent in this. However, it's always like just little crappy little third-party flash game type things.
Right.
With it being Star Wars and on this type of level, with, again, a movie coming out, and people will very closely associate these two incidences, it could affect their profits. And I wouldn't put it past Disney to threaten that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because now you've got so much bad press. You've got Wall Street predicting issues, and rightly so, because the evidence is there on the stock falls. Yep. Meanwhile, I saw the neat comparisons, like, don't forget to support the guys that are actually doing good, and like Nintendo stocks have actually risen over the past few days. Nintendo as a first-party developer is also doing things right. I don't know how impactful the DLCs are for Zelda. I never really paid attention to them. I didn't look into them. I expect that if I play the Breath of the Wild, I'm getting a complete game and not anything that's been cut up.
I think what they did with it was there was like a master quest, or the 100 trials from Wind Waker.
Okay.
I think that was it, where you could get a more powered up master sword from that, because in Breath of the Wild, because it's based on that breakable weapon system, the master sword has a cooldown period. It has to recharge itself, with the exception of boss battles. I think it stays in its powered up mode.
Right.
So I think that's what that does.
Okay.
But basically, if you beat that, because you have to start it off with no gear, and you have to just start acquiring gear as you go down. Basically, it's saying, okay, well, if you get here and you unlock this, you really don't need it because you're that good. And there's also a bunch of costumes, but I don't know if they ever released anything that expanded like the story aspects of it.
Right. All right. Well, I think we should try and wrap this up. If you have any last thoughts, I do like the idea.
Again,
I do like the idea of this format. I think we should bring it back every now and then. Maybe the next one we do is how to fix DC and WB in a more complete form. Even though we've done it multiple times before, that way we can harp on them again and tell them. Yeah, and that's the thing. Okay. So my final thought. I'll do mine first. All right. So you can throw yours in there.
Okay.
I have not finished The Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm.
I intend to buy the expansions because the make Flash reset the timeline. I have not bought the expansions because I haven't beat the base game yet. But from what the developers have said and what people reviewing the expansions have said, even the first expansion DLC for The Witcher 3 is bigger than the whole of the first Witcher game, which may or may not have been big depending on, CD Projekt Red was still young back when that was made. I'll give them that. But, for it to be bigger than a game that they put out before, that's pretty impressive. You're getting your dollar value for what you're paying for out of that. At least you feel like that, you know what I mean? And even still now with it being in a Game of the Year edition, you're basically paying $20 for each piece of the game for the base game and then $20 for each of the expansions. So it's not a bad deal. It's really well done. Unfortunately,
we were saying that all Witcher 3 is a full worth the full price. So
oh yeah,
this definitely so.
I paid full price for the base game, and I'll eventually get the season pass here to get those 2 DLCs. But that's something that I value, and that's the thing that we need to take away from this. You need to stand there and do your due diligence to look through and say, is this game worth my time and my money? Because I sure as heck don't have 3,400 hours to dedicate to a game. I barely have that that attention span for anything else anyways. But you need to take a minute and think about it. And I think through that we can make more meaningful purchases as a people and try and help reform what's going on with the gaming industry, because there are experts out there that believe that we're not paying enough because of production costs have gone up, but we're not paying the same. Well, I'd argue production costs are going up, but I think they're kind of blown out of proportion. While Star Wars Battlefront looks great, it doesn't exactly play great from what I've seen. It's still kind of chunky like any other Star Wars game is. Or any other, not Star Wars, any other first-person shooter is, or third-person shooter. It's not. It still looks like mechanical. I mean, we still haven't gotten perfect on that. But what's wrong with continuing to develop on the same engine? Because we keep developing games, and then they keep downgrading the graphics because of the consoles. Because the consoles aren't as powerful as a great PC that I have. I have a great PC because I do other things with it. You know what I mean? But the graphics cards, they make things look great. But at a certain point, I'm still seeing it doesn't look as real as, as you would. It's not like you're looking at through your own eyes. You're looking at graphics that are generated. Maybe. But you know what I mean. It's 500 games on Steam. I'm at 185 or 90, 190, something like that. So, but you get my meaning. They're developing for the consoles, and then still, and that's the other problem is most of them are still developing for the console and then porting to the PC, and that leads to poor quality. So I have to pay for something that I'd gladly pay $60 if it was native to that, and then they downgraded it for the consoles, but that's not how it works, and that's why everybody gets upset at E3 and says, "Oh, look at how great this game looks," and then when they get the Division home to play at home, and they're like, "Oh, this doesn't look anything like the demos at E3."
Well, okay, with the Division, it wasn't just that. It was just that, oh wow, this game is really broken.
Yeah.
Why can't I log on? Why am I like lagging so bad?
And the worst part is, and Greg will agree with me, GMF 3000 for those, or 3003 for those of you watching in the Twitch chat. Division had a fun loop. It was it kind of filled a need like PUBG fills for me now. It has a great game loop. It's enjoyable and memorable for the times that I play it. I don't have a lot of solo time with that game. I play more in duos with Greg, or I play with the guys doing squads, 4-man squads. It's not all the game, it's the experience too with the people that I'm playing with. And if I can enjoy that and not have to put in just over 200 hours and feel I got my way. Yeah, that game is 200 hours. I mean, 2,000 hours now, right, Greg? San Andreas, yeah, that was great. And then waiting here for PC version. It's kind of like I'm sitting here right now, VTech, waiting for Monster Hunter World to come out. But I'm not going to get it till fall of next year, while everybody else is getting it in January. I'm at a loss, and I don't understand why it's taking so long. I guess, you know, the graphics changeover and the interchange with not on the Division. Okay, yeah. I mean, and that's what I said. The Division was great for what it was for me. I enjoyed it personally. A lot of people didn't. I wish there was a way I wouldn't have to deal with the idiots on there, because man, cheating was rampant on there.
Dude, I loved like the premise, like the overall premise, like a real time, not real time, like a modern day, MMORPG. I thought that was like a brilliant concept.
I kind of wonder why.
That's like exactly the kind of like it was like I was playing like a GURPS game for me in a way.
Yeah,
that's kind of a rough analogy.
I want to know what happened with Project Titan for Blizzard. I hope that one of these days that becomes like a documentary that they do. Either, I don't care if it's an in-house look and they spin it whatever way. That was supposed to be a game that you could interact in the real world on a cell phone app as well, collecting supplies was what we were told. And it was going to be either post-apocalyptic or somewhat modern. I mean, geez, Greg, the Division, the DLC should have been more story, not just junk. That's what upset me with that too. But Project Titan from Blizzard, the one that got canceled, and then we got Overwatch out of it instead. I really want to know what that was going to be about. That would be very interesting to see. Because it was going to be that modern and post whatever it was going to be. So, all right, what do you got for your final thoughts so we can finish this up?
Oh crap, my final thoughts. Don't be a fanboy. There's good fanboys and bad fanboys. Bad fanboys protect the stuff that they love no matter what. Good fanboys can recognize when something has a flaw to it. Be like, okay, this game was bad. I do not need to go on every website and defend it just because I'm part of that team. Do not reward people do not reward this company for punishing you. Don't reward companies when they do bad. Don't say, I'm going to criticize this game, but I'm still going to buy it. No, that's the wrong answer, because they don't care what Facebook posts you make. They don't care what Reddit posts you make, what 4chan posts, what Tumblr, what Twitter posts you make. You've already bought the game. They've got your money. And so they get to just keep making that same game, deal with the bad publicity, because they don't care, because they're still making millions. Remember, EA's 2 or 3 times worst company in America. EA is the one that said players first, remember?
Yeah.
Only when the bill comes. Players first. You pay for it.
Yep.
Crap like that. If the movie is bad, just don't go. If the game is bad, just don't play. If the company sucks and is trying to swindle you, don't support them. Let them fail. Trust me, somebody else will make a Star Wars game. Maybe we'll get something like Knights of the Old Republic again. Maybe we'll get that one game, that Project 1313 or whatever that looked amazing.
Level 1313. Yeah, it was supposed to be part of Coruscant and the seedy underbelly. That would have been really interesting. Revived
by somebody that's not only passionate about the product, but wants a quality game and wants people to enjoy it. That's what, in the end, yes, artists, writers, artists, video game developers, they do want to make money. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. But they want you to enjoy their stuff as well. And if it's not a real game, like a legitimate game that they're not passionate about, then why do it? Especially if they're going to screw you over like this.
Yeah. This has been a big
The Bethesda comments, Greg, I would love to touch on it right now, but I know we're trying to do our final thoughts, Jerry Springer style. But that Bethesda comment about the mods, that could be a whole other show. So we will save that for a later day, because I'll go on rants. Yeah, so just don't buy the game. Don't say, oh, well, I'll buy it before the end of the year, or I'll buy it at Christmas time, which it's Christmas time now, but don't buy it.
That's what they're waiting for.
That's the only way they're going to learn their lesson.
Yeah, that's what they're waiting for, is that reprisal that you go back, you know? Mm-hmm. They're expecting more customers to just jump on, and then they can throw it back in because they're hoping that, hoping that they can actually get someone to buy into it, so... All right. Well, I think this was very productive. Like I said, I actually like this. This was a lot of fun. If we take a big subject like this every now and then and break it down, it'd be good for the times where there's not a whole lot of news. We can just pull something interesting.
There was a lot of news these last couple of weeks, but this was the big thing.
This was huge. This encompassed a whole week's worth of news cycle. It's great. Thank you for listening. Those of you that joined us on the live stream, and like VTech B6, thanks for your donation. We greatly appreciate it. Please leave us feedback on our show wherever you get it from on podcast form, and don't forget to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/stasisgeek. And like I said, thanks VTech for your donation, and we hope to see you again in the next show. Go ahead.
Okay, you can contact us at ECG_podcast on Twitter, and our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/ECGpodcast, or email address at ecgpodcast@gmail.com. Also visit our webpage at www.stasisgeek.com. That's STASISGEK.com. By the way, that hypocritical, but everything on there is not behind paywalls. $50 per page. But hey, if you don't want to pay, you can post a comment on our video, and we will probably read it. Maybe, absolutely, for $5. If you pay us $5, we will read your comment. For another $5, we will either thumbs it up or thumbs down.
Great. Oh, you've made us sound like what was it? You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. All right.
As long as we're rich villains.
All right, we'll be back we'll be back next week with a normal show. But thanks again for everybody that joined in. I'm glad we got to discuss this, especially in open forum. It'll be great when we get more people to participate and get more points of view, because the back and forth between VTech, B6, and Greg and Adam, who are jumping in there giving the comments. I'm glad you guys are here to go through this with us, because it's a subject to cover, and we're glad to cover it, and can't wait to see what the future holds. For more episodes
I can't wait to see the fallout from the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, right. All right, like I said, we'll be back next week. Until then, stay geeky.